Hi, today's topic is going to be about how people can consider themselves good people and at the same time hate somebody for their race, religion, sexuality, political views, all of that. But before I get into that, I just got to say nothing sparks fear in me like my child coming to me and saying, "Mom, will you check my head?" That was my day today because I checked and we had a problem with two of my kids. So all day long, my head has been driving me crazy because, the second that you think of lice or fleas, you just start itching. It's just, but my son, he's kind of, a lot of times he acts like he's on the autism spectrum. So we had to clip his hair really short. He's 7 and he's never had head lice. So we had to shave his hair down really low, and he was about to cry because he thought he was going to be bald. But we had to shave it down real real close to his head because if I so much as check him, a lot of times he'll complain about my fingers running through his hair. So I was like, well, we better nip this in the bud and just get rid of most of his hair. He needed a haircut anyway, and the boy's hair grows like super fast. All of my kids, their hair grows super fast. So, um, I know a lot of people of from different backgrounds, different ideologies and stuff, and it just trips me out that they can feel like they are a good person and they'll just look at somebody with so much hate, because they're Muslim or because they're gay or because they're black or because, ooh, you're a Democrat, you're a filthy liberal. And I mean, honestly, if you don't give somebody a chance, if you're judging that they are going to be somebody who you can't get along with, you know, it really trips me out that a lot of these people consider themselves not only good people, but good Christians, good Muslims, good Jews. They'll think we're good people. We believe in God and stuff, and doing all these works and everything, and it's like, but yet you're looking at somebody and saying, I wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire. And you don't even know that person. And judging the people on stuff. And I'll admit it, I judge people. Everybody judges people. I mean, you have this like split second to decide whether somebody's a threat or not. And and I'll admit that certain kinds of people will get kind of, like if my big thing is junkies, meth addicts. I can spot them like super quick, and I'll still talk to. If they talk to me, I'll still talk to them. I'm not messed up. I'm not gonna be rude or anything because they are a person. Even if I don't like that they do that drug, and I don't completely trust them, like I'm holding on to my purse, I'm watching what they're doing, you know, be like, hey, hey, slow your roll down, partner. Stop, talk, slow down. I mean, there's a certain amount of distrust. Like, I may not want this person to come into my house, but that's not going to make me, I'm not going to look at them and be like, I know you didn't just talk to me. I'm going to ignore your. No, if they say hi to me, I'm going to say hi back. If they're talking to me, I'm going to talk to them because they are a person. Um, and I'm the same way about foreign people. Nobody gets to choose, so I know that there are good people in every race from every country, you know, um, and and their lives are different, but to say like people saying like we've got one family member who posted on Facebook that 100% of immigrants who don't try to cross the border don't wind up in cages. Well, the way I see it, look at all of the Americans that are standing on street corners begging for money or food or whatever. They're out there. Think about all the people that approach you in parking lots asking for help. Hey, brother, can you spare a dime? Or whatever. Think about the people who steal from you so that they can buy drugs or whatever. Think about the guy who is drunk all the time and his kids are starving and shit because he won't go out and work. All of those people were given this opportunity by being born here, an opportunity that immigrants don't have. They don't have the chance to throw it away, and we've got Americans that are just throwing it away. That we think we've got it rough here and there, and we do to a degree by American standards. If you're in if you're below the poverty line, you've got it bad compared to Donald Trump. But compared to third world countries and south of the border, those of us living beneath the poverty line are rich. That's and it's and we were born here. We didn't get to choose that. And then you got people that are out on the streets wanting people to give them money. And then you got hardworking people who want to come in so that they can feed their kids and all that kind of stuff. And we're saying, nope, nope, no, 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 no. You weren't born here. You can't come here. You know, any good person can see that a man should have the opportunity to have opportunity. I mean, that's just the right thing. Don't kick somebody down without giving them a chance to show that they belong where they're at. You know, and this same relative of mine thinks that all Mexicans are rapists and this and that, and it's like, well, you know what? If I went by crime logic, I'd be terrified of a lot of people because our prisons are filled with black people, and but I know that some of those black people are in there, and there are some white people that are 10 times worse than the black folks that are sitting in jail. Whether it was that the white folks haven't been caught or they had some rigmarole that they did, you can't go by that. And plus, I know that most of the prison is not Mexicans and Latino people. So therefore, I mean, it's like this. If a Latino person rapes an American, they come over here illegally and they rape an American. They serve time in our jail. If they get life without the possibility of parole, they get life without the possibility of parole in our jail. If they get 10 years, they get deported once they're done. But they have to serve time unless they've got something going on in Mexico or wherever they're from. If they're wanted there, then there's stuff that happens. And most of the Latino population that is in our prison system is American born. These aren't people that come across the border because they're not wanting to come here to break laws, because trust me, in Mexico they get away with a lot more shit than they do here. In Mexico, if you just roll with the right people, you can keep your butt out of jail. Because it's very corrupt there. So for us to say, and then for people to say, oh well, we need to take over Mexico, blah blah blah. No, They can have their own country, but I'm thinking, why should we be able to draw that line in the sand and say you can't come here? Why not give somebody the opportunity? Why lock up their kids? Why rip their kids from their arm? I mean, it's like if you have to go arrest somebody, you see it on TV all the time. They'll go to arrest somebody and they'll say, "Hey, let me go talk to this guy real quick." Because I'm sure he would rather his wife and kids not see him handcuffed and put in the back of a squad car if we can do this without doing that. So, sometimes we do things to save face. So it's like how can we allow, even if somebody's coming here illegally, how can we allow them to be mistreated? I mean, it's like I understand people saying, "Oh, well, this and this and this and this." I get their complaints. I personally don't think that immigration should be. I mean, I think that people should be able to come here if they want to come here. You know, um, because they do make themselves a life here that's far better than what they would have where they're from. And Americans couldn't really make it there. We would starve to death because we would be expected to work hard and for very little. But I'm not gonna. I just don't. Anybody who's not upset that little kids are being ripped out of their parents' arms and stuff. It's like how can you call yourself a good person and you're not outraged by that? How can you call yourself a good person and not be outraged by blatant racism? You know, I'm not gonna, even if a black guy looks like he just stepped out of a gang conference, like if they had a conference for gang members, like if he come out, really looking the part, I'm gonna be, and if he's bigger, if he's a big guy, I'm gonna be a little timid about him, a little like standoffish. But if he talks to me, I'm gonna talk to him because he deserves the same respect that I would give any other person that I don't know. And I'm not I'm not gonna look at a kid, like I used to see this with my dad. He'd see somebody beat up, like a white girl beat up, and he'd say that's what she gets for dating the N word. And I'm like, that's not right. It shouldn't matter. You know, she got beat up by a dude, whether she's white, black, Asian, whether he's white, black, Asian, whether she's Christian and he's Muslim, it don't matter. That girl is hurt. The kids, if they see that type of violence, we have to think about kids in general. And I don't let my kids go like we're not a super religious family or anything cuz I don't believe in organized religion. There's just too many people that you come across in a church or a mosque that are going to not walk that line. And I just don't want my kids associated. I would rather that my kids learn how to be good people before introducing religion into it. Now, that being said, if people invite my kids to go to Sunday school, I allow them to go to Sunday school because I figure, I don't want them to be ignorant of the stuff, and the Bible's kind of heavy for a 6 year old or a 7 year old, so and I can't expect them to read the Quran or anything like that. I wouldn't even expect my 13-year-old to read it um, because the Bible and the Quran, any religious text, no matter how well written, the concepts are just really not. Um, there's so much interpretation depending on what you're reading, and their minds are very malleable. So I would rather their minds be molded into a person who is good, a person who says, hey, that's not right. Those kids are those babies are crying. Why are we making those babies cry? You know, or hey, that guy just called that other guy the N word and started beating his ass. I need to do something about that because that ain't cool. Or, hey, that person just ripped a hijab off of a girl's head and is taunting her. That ain't cool. That ain't right. That's the kind of person I want to raise, is a person who just does stuff not because a book tells them to, not because the pastor or the imam or the rabbi tells them to. Somebody who does the right thing because inside they know it's the right thing. And when you raise a kid like that, you don't have to explain God to them. Um, because they get it. They don't, the Bible, the Quran, those are just stories with good meanings. I mean, I'm not saying that they're bad books, they're great books, but they are stories written by men. And mankind has a tendency to manipulate other men. And sometimes that's needed because sometimes people are stupid. And when somebody's stupid, sometimes you have to lie to them. Sometimes you have to tell them a story. Sometimes you have to break it down in a way that they would understand. It may not be true. It might be you tricking them. But if the right thing happens, good men feel justified. Because, hey, if you do the right thing because you believe this story, what does it matter if the story's a lie? If you learn a lesson that you need to learn, and there's so many, people who consider themselves good people, and you really have to ask yourself, they always had the what would Jesus do? And then there's the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have done unto yourself. And people actually feel like they're living their lives like that, and yet they can be okay with the shit that goes on, and they can feel like they're a good person and be a racist. It's like you're hating a person for something that they've got no control over. And even if they did have control over it, like say somebody hates somebody because they're homosexual, they're like my dad, just always like, I hate queers, just always with the, oh, is that queer bullshit again? Them Sonic guys are queers, just my dad was always going on and on about it. Um, and it's like, but that does not pertain to you. Their sexuality does not determine whether they are a good person. Their sexuality does not determine that they won't march for a cause. It doesn't determine that they won't step in when they see injustice happening. It doesn't make them a bad person. It is just a facet of themselves. I mean, it's like, if you and your wife engage in BDSM, some people would consider that as bad. That's horrible. I can't believe that they do that. And it's like, hey, they're not doing it to you, they're doing it to each other. So let them do whatever they're going to do to each other, as long as they're not hurting any kids and they're not hurting anybody else. If what they do, it doesn't make them evil. And personally, I've always felt that living your life the way other people think you should live it is not the way to live. Because see, a good person isn't going to say, you know, it's not going to change them being a good person if they say, you know what, everybody wants me to get married and have kids. They want me to have this right here. But you know what? Like if it was me saying, well, I like girls. I want to have a girlfriend. Me choosing to go my own route would be would not make me any less of a good person. You know, me saying, "You know what you want for me is not what's going to make me happy." And as a person who only has one life to live, it would be like me spitting in God's face if I chose to live it in misery. You know, the same can be said for, like choosing certain religions. My dad hated when I converted to Islam. He absolutely hated it. He really hated it when I wore the hijab, which I think was why I wore it for so long, was to piss him off. Um, but ultimately, I felt more at peace in a mosque than in any Christian church I walked into, and trust me, I went into a lot of them. I I dabbled in Christianity for decades, um, but found no peace sitting there with those people. But when I go to masjid, I feel peace. Now I'm not saying that's for everybody because it's not. It's not for everybody, but it was for me. Just like Buddhism is for some people, Christianity. I mean, if you go into the church and you just feel at peace, then that's where you need to be. I am not going to naysay anybody on their choice of where they need to go to connect with God. You know, um, you could connect with God watching kittens at PetSmart. you know, I mean, you don't have to walk into a church. You do not have to be surrounded by like-minded individuals to connect with that feeling of there is something bigger than me. I am a part of it. You know, but hate is not part of that. And you are not a good person if you hate anything. I mean, you can hate a pedophile. You can hate a murderer, you know. Just don't hate somebody for something that